X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of A Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach. And Adam, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you wanna go a little crazy today? Do you wanna wreak havoc and let's sip the dogs of war?
Are we spelling havoc with a C or a K?
I don't know. It's also Cry Havoc, and I screwed that up so badly. Folks, we're talking about Havok today. You know Havok.
Man, Havok's a dum-dum, isn't he?
That's the thing that I feel like thanks to Allison Central, friend of the show, and her influence on making sure everyone understands the Himboology of Havok, that Havok being a dum-dum has become more prominent. But in the past, I wouldn't have thought of it.
No, but when you read 3 back-to-back Havok stories, you're like, gosh, this guy's a moron.
Oh, no. She was 100% accurate in her assessment that Havok kind of dumb. And that's what we're going to find out today, because we got 3 Havok stories, and these are not late Havok stories. These are 3 pre-Jim Lee Havok stories. Mm-hmm. This is classic Havok, and it's dealing with the things that Havok is best known for: being really dumb in Egypt.
Right. So who do we have to thank for this exploration of Havok this week?
We got Patreon supporter Robert, who went on over to patreon.com/comicsxf, said, "Folks, I like what you're doing over here. I smell what you're stepping in. I would like to toss a couple of coins into your coffers so that you can keep doing that quality Comics XF content that I crave, and you crave, and we all crave."
Yeah, and we're starting with a classic, Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, X-Men 97.
This is, in fact, the first issue that Claremont solo wrote. Mm-hmm. Giant Size was by Len Wein. 94 and 95 were plotted by Len Wein, and Claremont did the dialogue for them. 96, Bill Mantlo, I forget how it's credited. I don't know if Mantlo is a plotter on this. It feels like a Mantlo plot, the Nagari stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But 97 is really when Claremont comes into his own, and boy howdy is this a Christopher Claremont comic.
Yeah, we're starting with Shakespeare quotes. We've got this is the beginning of Xavier having his visions of Lalandra and Space War, and boy, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, this is the antagonist of this one is Eric the Red.
But which Eric the Red? We don't know yet.
It's Davan Shakari.
Yes.
I do find it very funny that Cyclops is like, immediately, Cyclops says, "How is Eric the Red real? I made him up. That was a costume I wore."
It's a great question. But yes, the Eric the Red from space has kidnapped and mind-controlled Havok and Polaris in an attempt to kill Professor Xavier, who he knows Lalandra is reaching out to telepathically. Now, we don't really have the whole context of this story, obviously, just from this one issue. But it does result in a very large battle at an airport.
Yeah, step aside, Marvel Cinematic Universe's Captain America, Civil War. This over here is this at JFK, or is this at Newark?
I think it's JFK.
It's whatever one is. Yeah, it's JFK, because JFK is by Jamaica Bay.
Right.
I don't actually know New York airports. I've never been to New York City. I've done a lot of traveling. Never been to JFK. Not once.
Not a great airport.
I've not heard amazing things. I hear it's a very romantic airport if movies are anything to go by. People just running up, stopping planes, saying, folks, this is my true love. You never see that happening in O'Hare. You never see that happening in Charlotte. Not once at ATL. MSP, forget about it.
There's a full TWA jet that just gets like blown to smithereens here, man.
No, a lot of stuff does get exploded. Because Eric the Red captures Havok and Polaris, names Polaris. This is the first time this ever happens.
Oh, really? What is she called? She just called Lorna Dane before this?
Yeah, she was Magneto's daughter.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
I never knew that.
Yeah, they never called her that. So, it's funny, if you read X-Men The Hidden Years, which, folks, you shouldn't read X-Men The Hidden Years. Unless you like Candy Southern. There's no reason to read X-Men The Hidden Years.
It's true.
Lorna has her first code name, which is Magentrix, which is a bad code name because she couldn't be called Polaris because Eric the Red gave her the name Polaris.
Well, she's also wearing a uniform that most people are not familiar with, which is the purple and green version of, like, she's got kind of the Doctor Strange cowl behind her head.
She does look a lot like Clea, doesn't she?
She does, yeah, just with green hair. And obviously, this doesn't stick around forever, but it gives her more of a villainous look,
my dude.
Yeah, it does. Because Havok and Polaris are under Eric the Red's thrall for quite a bit of time. This is not just like a one issue thing, and then they're not.
They get better. They eventually get better.
Yeah, they do. So battle at the airport. Havok and Cyclops is like, man, what are you doing, bro? And Havok's like, well, I think I'm saving the world. Colossus and Eric the Red fist fight. Storm is like, I'm not playing games. I'm going to take you down, Polaris. Shoots her out of the sky. And there's a lot of really good Dave Cockrum art in this issue.
Yeah, I was about to say Dave Cockrum, folks. Dave Cockrum, pretty good.
Wolverine not really in this issue. He shows up at the very end just for Storm to kind of like be like, no, dude, you're not going to be a psycho killer. You're going to answer to me, which I like.
Well, Wolverine, I feel like they don't know what to do with Wolverine for the longest time.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of when Wolverine really comes into his own. Maybe 101 when you get like the beat of him bringing Jean the flowers and then being sad because he realizes that Cyclops, her long-term boyfriend, had already thought to bring her flowers.
Yeah, he gets a little more cowboy in that issue,
Well, yeah, because right before then, the next issue after this, 98, is the first time you see him without his cowl on.
That's right.
Cockrum's influence is very heavy in this one, and you can tell that because Nightcrawler is ostensibly the lead of the X-Men.
Oh, sure.
We
get everything in this issue. Like, we get these, like, amazing blacklight, almost looking like space battles to begin with. We get these awesome fight scenes in the airport with things blowing up. And then at the very end, we also get this classic panel of is it Stephen Lang who's looking at them on the tarmac?
It's Stephen Lang is looking at them, and Eric the Red is looking at Stephen Lang looking at them.
Absolutely amazing. Just a classic panel. So great.
It's insane. I don't understand it, but I love it.
Yeah.
We get the Shi'ar starting to be like developed here as this is going to be an important thing for the X-Men for the next 40 issues, and then also all of continuity. Like, the hated and feared part of X-Men doesn't, like, it's always there, but it's always there in the way that people hate Spider-Man in Spider-Man comics.
Yeah. They're a nuisance. It
takes a little bit, because Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum are like, I want to do a fun space story with these superheroes. And here's the thing. Okay, I get it. They aren't wrong. It is a fun space story.
Yeah, and you're going to get... This leads right into the Sentinels return in the next two issues, which is a lot of fun. So, we're like really in this mode of just a great start with this creative team, and it's a blast. I really enjoy it. So you want to try and rank this thing?
Yeah, let's try and rank this on our ever-expanding, very, very long list of every X-Men story of all time, or at least 606 of them, which we're ranking from best to worst, with the best X-Men story of all time being the 2019 soft reboot, The House of X and Powers of 10. Number 100 being X-Men Volume 2, 1 through 3, Everything is Sinister. Number 200 being Shatterstar, the miniseries from a few years back. Number 300 is X-Men 27, A Song of Mourning, A Cry of Joy. Number 400 on our list is Generation X 62, Monet Vampire Hunter. Forgot about that one, didn't you? Number 500 on our list is The Decimation Story from X-Men Volume 2, 177 to 179. Number 600 on our list is New York X-Men 1 through 7. And then the Draco's at the bottom still. Always going to be there.
As always. Now we have...
The beautiful thing about where the Draco's at is that we all get to remember the Draco all the time. And it's never going to get dethroned. They'd have to make some really bad comics.
It's the curse of the Draco. All right, we have the next couple issues, like I just mentioned, the Sentinels arc, all the way up at 33. I don't think this is quite as high.
I don't think this breaks the top 100. This isn't as good as those Sentinel stories.
No, I was going to say, so down at 100, we have, like you mentioned, Uncanny Volume 2, 1 to 3, Everything is Sinister, and I think that is better.
I think the Magneto story, Magneto Triumphant at 107, is better. That's 111 to 113 of Uncanny.
Yeah. I think this might be, I don't know. It's probably not as good as 150, which is Uncanny X-Men 143. Demon?
No, Demon's better.
Yeah, I think so. So we're working our way down.
Kitty's Fairy Tale is better at 160.
Yeah. You know, I think this might be better than at 175, the Dracula issue, Uncanny 159. What do you think about that?
I think that's right.
Okay.
I think all new Wolverine Enemy of the State 2 is better than this, though.
Okay. Yeah, and right above that is Battle of the Atom, and I think this is better than Wolverine the X-Men 5 to 7, where Kitty gets pregnant. So this would be our new 173.
You ever think about some of the stories we ranked early in the show and like, hey, maybe in retrospect we would have done something differently?
Is this where this goes?
I guess it is. This is 173. X-Men 97, My Brother, My Enemy.
Yeah. So already Havok has been abducted and mind controlled in this episode. And, well, we need to switch things up a little bit and find another time that he has been taken advantage of. So where are we going next?
Well, the next time we're going to take advantage of Havok is actually, I think, his first appearance after he gets done being mind controlled.
Interesting.
Really, it's the first real story with that. It's a story from 1978. It's got a Dave Cockrum cover, but the interiors are by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. It's Marvel Team Up 69 and 70. Spider-Man teams up with Havok and then Thor.
Yeah, and this is the 2 issues that are right before John Byrne starts actually doing Uncanny, right?
So this is actually 170 is at least where they go from Uncanny X-Men being a bi-monthly comic to a monthly comic. Because here's the thing, Dave Cockrum wasn't very fast.
It takes time to make great art.
It does take time to make great art. So we got John Byrne, who, listen, 70s John Byrne and 80s John Byrne. I do enjoy that art. I think John Byrne may be the weakest of the main artists on the Claremont run. He just happened to have the most important stories. That's not to say John Byrne in the 80s wasn't a pretty decent penciler. He's a pretty decent penciler in here, though. He's got Ricardo Villamonte doing his inks, which it's weird because it's not Terry Austin.
Oh, you can definitely tell there's a difference. I mean, this is not up to the quality of what we saw in Uncanny X-Men, but it also sounds like Byrne is working on multiple books at the same time. So it's kind of understandable.
Yeah, what's funny, I think, and I forget where I heard this, but someone once told me that Terry Austin is really a great inker because he has this amazing ability to make everybody he inks look like 1980s John Byrne.
That's part of it. I mean, it's really interesting how Austin like augments people's styles, like, and makes it sort of become iconic. Like I think about Art Adams and a variety of different artists that he's worked with. But anyway, this story is an interesting one because we're returning back to Havok's Silver Age origin story, and the living Pharaoh appears to want Havok again because we've got these little, like, you know, dudes wearing the King Tut hats following him around in little spaceships.
Do you ever think how Ahmet Abdul, the living Pharaoh, the living monolith, was one of the 12? Like, there was a certain point where they said, no, he should be one of the most important, powerful mutants.
Yep, that is true.
They keep doing things with him, and they shouldn't.
I really love that to accomplish their master plan, they do have to get the living Pharaoh's mystical Ankh. And that is how Spider-Man gets involved in this, because he sees them stealing this through a door and can't stop them because he gets caught up in his own webbing.
Oh yeah, this is Marvel Team Up. Y'all know Marvel Team Up's a Spider-Man book, right? Like, Spider-Man's the main character. Did we not introduce that? We've covered a lot of Marvel Team Ups. I assume people know things like that, but also I know our audience is X-Men readers, and folks, love you to death. We know X-Men readers don't read things that aren't X-Men.
Which is, you know, I'm starting to realize I need to go back and read some of this stuff because there's so much crossover. I mean, we've got Polaris calling Beast at Avengers Mansion, which is then Beast traveling, which then gets picked up back in Claremont's X-Men.
Yeah.
And really, I guess the point here is that the Pharaoh is going to encase Havok in this sort of like living tomb.
It's the same thing he was going to do in the Silver Age story.
Right. So that he can become the living monolith and, you know, go knock down buildings Godzilla style, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's so it's a bad plot. Havok, wildly ineffective in this team up. Immediately gets knocked out and put into a tomb.
By a henchman. Not even by the Pharaoh.
Not even the living monolith. It's by a member of the cult of the Pharaoh or whatever it is.
Yep. Dude just chops him in the neck and it's like he's already out.
It is absolutely wild.
Yeah, so Havok, you know, gets subdued fairly easily. Gotta appreciate the living Pharaoh's costume change because he's anticipating turning into the living monolith.
He thinks this through.
He does. He's gone and like gotten his living monolith outfit on. And the whole second issue is Thor and Spider-Man teaming up to try and punch the crap out of the living monolith and help Havok escape from his like little coffin.
What had happened is Thor saw Beast running away. And he's like, I wonder if anything's going on tonight. And then he finds Spider-Man. He's like, hey, what's up? I'm your friend Thor. I'm the good Avenger. I'm the Avenger who's an ally to mutants because Walt Simonson was friends with Claremont in the 80s. So now Thor gets a pass.
That's right. And he's also like, whoa, a big thing for me to hit with my hammer. Let's
go. Man, I do love Thor. I love how excitable Thor is. Like, he's a golden retriever. He's got a big hammer. He sees a giant monster. He's like, giant monster, let's go.
And he's not super happy that he can't just immediately knock the big thing down.
It's like, what's up? I'm Thor. I'm supposed to be able to do this. Why didn't we get a Claremont Thor? Honestly, hold on. Honestly, I think Claremont could write a pretty good Thor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've seen enough great Claremont Asgard stuff. There's no reason.
He would have been good at Thor.
He couldn't have done it. You know what I mean?
He had no time. He had no time to do this. And by the time Walt Simonson got it, I don't think Thor was like, "Hey, Walt, I know you just stopped. What if I did it? What if I did Thor now?" No, he wasn't going to do that.
No, he's too single-minded by that point. So, long
It would have
story
been
short,
Thor and his best friend Kitty Pryde.
it would have been Storm.
Oh my
as
gosh!
Thor.
What if they get Claremont to write like a Thor miniseries right now, and then it ends up being, hey, this is Thor, and also Sage is here.
DH Storm and Gambit?
It's Thor, and then he's for some reason tracking down Bloody Bess and her pirates.
Well, the only way to solve the living monolith here is for Spider-Man to, I guess, use his Spidey sense to hack his way into the coffin and steal the mystic Ankh from around Havok's neck, which then Havok wakes up, and really Thor then is able to like punch the living daylights out of the living monolith.
Well, because the living monolith just turns back into a dude, and Thor's like, I'm so good at punching dudes. Watch this.
Oh,
Boom.
I got this. Yeah, and the story ends with Havok being like, "Oh man, like Lorna is still out there. I gotta go find her."
They were on Muir Island, and they were on a walk, and the mummy men threw Polaris into the ocean and kidnapped Havok. And he was like, Polaris is probably still in the ocean, not thinking that.
She climbed out.
It's been like 2 days, Alex, buddy. Polaris is just mad.
Right. She was soaking wet and came inside. So he flies off with Thor, and that is the end of the story. So another example of Havok just, on a dumb adventure.
If it helps, Spider-Man also feels like he's on a dumb adventure to the point he's like, man, you know what? I hope the Avengers fight Thanos recently, and I wasn't any use there, and I'm not any use here.
No,
what am I
really
doing
isn't.
with my life?
Yeah, and I do appreciate there is some humor here, and like they all recognize just how ridiculous this whole situation is, including the costumes of their villains. And
I know it doesn't get as much like play as his other stuff. Claremont's Marvel team up's is pretty fun as far as Marvel team up goes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Marvel team up's uneven as a book. Claremont's stuff is really good, actually.
I would agree.
Not this one. This one's just kind of silly. But that's kind of what you want out of Marvel team up, I think. Can you believe this book went on for 150 issues?
Well, I just pulled that number up at 111 as Marvel team up 150, which I do think is better than this.
150 is better.
Yeah, down at 267, we have Marvel Team Up 149, which is
no, that one's better. That's the Cannonball one where he has to buy his mom a fancy hat.
Oh right. Oh yeah. Down
Marvel
at
Team Up 100 is at 293.
Yep.
That's the first Karma story and the Storm Black Panther stuff. That one's better.
Especially this. I think, the Storm and Black Panther stuff is a little bit developing, but I do think that's better.
Listen, that story has the Karma story has problems.
Yeah,
but also it's better.
All the way down at 479, we have Marvel Team Up Volume 3, number 19, which I do not.
That's the Robert Kirkman.
Marvel
Team Up.
That's not good.
This is better than that. This is better than that.
Yeah.
This is better than Cataclysm Ultimate X-Men.
All right, what number is that at?
That's at 442.
Yeah. Well, what do we have at 400?
400 right now is AVX 13 through 18 Captain America plus Cyclops.
Yeah, no. That's all better. So 450 is Judgment War. I think Judgment War is better than this.
This is better than 407, the No More Humans OGN.
Wait, what's that at? 470?
407.
Oh, wait. I'm confused. You want to go back up?
Wait. I was saying that A plus X is better than this at 400.
Oh, see. Yeah, I agree. But you think it's better than No More Humans?
I think it's probably better than No More Humans.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay. Well,
I feel like I went lower. Because, all right, at 442, you said Cataclysm Ultimate X-Men. Is this better than that? I don't think this is better than like Firestar at 441.
Really?
It's
I mean,
probably better than
good.
like, it's better than Five Lights at 445.
It is better than the Five Lights story.
It's not better than Enemy of the Estate at 438.
That's probably not. Okay, that's fine. We can make Firestar better. I actually don't care about this Marvel Team-Up issue that much. It's number 442 now.
That's a perfect place for it. I think that's a good one.
It doesn't bode well for our next story, I'll tell you what.
This next one is just absolutely ludicrous. And this comes to
As
us from
is
the
the
pages.
tradition.
Yeah. This comes to us from Marvel Comics Presents. What is this story called? Pharaoh's Legacy?
It's called... Hold on. Yeah, Pharaoh's Legacy.
Pharaoh's Legacy. Okay. Now, we had already seen in Marvel Comics Presents Cyclops Retribution, which we've talked about on the show. We also saw the Colossus God's Country, which is, I always like that one. This
Don't
one,
Weapon X. Weapon X is a pretty okay one that they did in this.
Yeah, we're not there yet with Marvel Comics Presents. With this is issues, what, 24
Through 31.
And what's our creative team here?
Creative team is Howard Mackey and Rich Buckler.
Okay.
And brother, this is a Howard Mackey comic in that it's not good. Howard Mackey, who famously once ghost wrote a book as an anonymous writer by the name of X, because, you know what? Not telling people who wrote it was going to sell more comics than a Howard Mackey comic. That's the comic brotherhood that got canceled because of 9/11. And when 9/11 happened, Marvel was like, let's not do a terrorist comic, okay? Let's have Ecstatics literally just murder everybody.
Probably a better decision.
It's a wild last issue of a series. Ecstatics is doing a parade and they just like nonchalantly murder these folks, which is a great Ecstatics plot, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. That fits in there. No problem. This happens during the Australian Outback era of X-Men. Havok has already been through Inferno, and he's been through Meltdown.
Yeah.
And
so this is...
this is round 3 for Havok Lady Trouble.
Havok, in the middle of the Outback, meets a pretty lady by the name of Layla O'Toole. She gets captured by the Pharaoh men. And she tells him this sob story about how she ran into the cult of the living Pharaoh, and they were going to sacrifice a human in honor of the living Pharaoh. So Havok tries to stop them.
Yeah. Yeah, there are more people in sort of like... This is so funny. Whenever there's living Pharaoh people like hunting Havok, they're always in these little like spaceships. They just happen to have these things, these little gliders. Spoiler alert, Miss O'Toole is lying to Havok. She is not actually on the run. They are actually, of course, after Havok and trying to bring him back to the cult.
To do a living Pharaoh thing. She's a honeypot. She's actually the daughter of the living Pharaoh, and her name is Plasma.
Plasma.
She's not interesting. Or a good character.
The cult members all kind of look like extras from Crocodile Dundee. The trackers, they're not the typical guys with the King Tut headdresses. They have the hat with the one side folded up, and they wouldn't be out of place, with the Reavers or something like that. Not that they have robot parts, but they just kind of look like scraggly dudes with guns.
It's Havok doesn't do well in this, and that's part of the thing, is that Havok's bad at his job, and his job is being a superhero.
He falls head over heels for her, no questions asked. It's just like Meltdown. Just like Meltdown, he has to call on Wolverine for help later on in this story. This thing goes on forever, even though it's told like 5 pages at a time.
Yeah, it's not a good use of the Marvel Comics Presents format, which was, short, like 5-8 page stories, serialized week to week. Was Marvel Comics Presents weekly or bi-weekly?
Oh man, I didn't realize it came out that quickly.
Well,
Bi-weekly?
yeah, it did.
Okay.
Because it had to. Okay, so this one covered.
I mean, it makes sense. You're cranking out these tiny short stories.
Well, in Marvel Comics Presents Volume 1, started September 88. And it went 75 issues, or 175 issues, to March of 95.
Wow.
So 175 issues in 7 years.
Yeah,
they were doing the work.
One of the results here of stretching this out over so many issues is that you get nonsense. Like there's an entire chapter that is basically just Havok walks into a bar and like beats everybody up for ostensibly no real information whatsoever. You probably could have told this story in like 10 pages. That's how much content is here. But eventually when he gets there, he realizes the twist and that O'Toole has been plasma. And we get one of the most ridiculous endings to any X-Men story I think we have ever read here. When Havok solves... I don't think solves is the right answer, but just concludes the story by punching a woman in the face and looking real sad and going home.
It's very dumb what Havok does here.
Like,
I love him. He's an idiot.
The last panel of the last page of this story is Havok looking like the saddest puppy dog you could possibly ever find. It's like from one of those Sarah McLachlan, support animal shelter commercials.
An angel.
It's not just his face.
Pharaoh lady, she honey potted me for the 3rd time in a week.
His what do you call his hat? What do you call the tri-fold hat he's got on? The
Havok's bad hat.
Yeah, but
I
droops.
hate his hat. I think his hat looks really bad, actually. People like that design. I do not care for it.
But it droops. Like, it's one of the most amazing things. Like, in Meltdown, Wolverine's hair drooped, right? It wasn't pointing. It was kind of, like, floppy. And at the end of this story, to really get how sad Havok is, his little rings on top of his head droop into a downward angle over his sad, sad eyes. And it's just ridiculous. This is a terrible story.
It's not very good. Hey, do you know whatever happened to Layla O'Toole?
I would assume that after she got punched in the face by Havok, that really that must have just solved the situation,
You would be wrong. Because, Adam, you've not read Mark Spector Moon Knight 25.
Oh, get out. She comes back in Moon Knight? That's fantastic.
Also a Howard Mackie comic. It's the one run of Moon Knight I've not read. Because it was the 90s one and it's not well collected. And also,
wow.
As a general Moon Knight connoisseur, no one's pulling anything from Mark Spector Moon Knight. No one cares about Mark Spector Moon Knight. But what apparently happens is Layla decides to recruit cultists into one massive army, including cultists for the Living Pharaoh and also for Khonshu. Wow. Khonshu. He's the god of the moon.
Oh my goodness.
Whom Mark Spector Mark Spector, what he did is he was a bastard in a mercenary group, and he died under the statue of Khonshu, and then he stood up.
It's not a terrible plan, actually. Now that you bring it up.
No. Anyway, she does end up like disintegrating Ghost Rider somehow.
Whoa.
He gets better. But she starts to get into a fight with Moon Knight, and the fight gets to the subway, and a train's coming, and Moon Knight gets out of the way of the train. Anyway, that's the last time we've ever seen Layla O'Toole.
Well, X fans would be forgiven if they have not read this particular story. If you go to look it up on Marvel Unlimited, you will find the issues, but you will only find the Black Panther story that was running concurrently to this one.
To be fair, Panther's Quest ran in almost every issue of Marvel Comics Presents.
Ran for a while, and obviously that must have been collected somewhere else. But you're not.
Well,
gonna
I don't know if
find-
you heard, there was a pretty major motion
Yeah.
picture featuring the Black Panther.
I've seen it. It's a pretty good movie. So Pharaoh's Legacy is not was not jumping off the shelves here, I don't think. And I think this is probably the
Pharaoh's
worst.
Legacy is a bad comic.
Yeah, this is probably the worst of the three that we talked about today. I mean, the art's not good, the writing is not good, and it's really just kind of recapping a lot of Havok's greatest hits here in a very bad way.
It's funny because you say greatest hits, and they're absolutely the worst hits. No one should ever do a comic about Havok knowing where Egypt is again. It's okay that he didn't finish his dissertation. He's got a lot of weird thoughts about Egypt that probably
baffling.
Right.
Yeah, it's baffling that they returned to this as many times as they did. It is not a good well to dip.
Do you know
into.
when do you think the last time the Living Pharaoh has shown up as like an antagonist?
This sounds like somebody that Jason Aaron would bring in on his like Avengers run or something.
So close. It is actually in Amazing X-Men though.
Oh, really?
But it was when Kyle and Yost did a couple of arcs at the end of that run.
All right. Well, that could be fun. Was it fun or was it
No.
It was stupid.
No, he gets Juggernaut powers?
No.
Why? I don't know. He really wanted to be tall again?
Okay.
It's a weird story. If I remember right, all the X-Men sit around and like, well, this guy has Juggernaut powers now. We're not going to let's have a campfire.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Anyway, this is not as good as 504, Ghost Rider 67 to 68, Brood Feud 2.
Yeah, we're definitely in the 500s. This is not as good as Beauty and the Beast at 509. Or Iceman Volume 1 at 518.
It's not as good as that time when Beast joined the Avengers at 526.
No, it is not. And it's definitely not. I still don't know why this is so low.
Because it's bad. You read it and you were like, oh, wait, no, this story's bad. I just read it a lot when I was 8.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's not great. Anyway,
that's all. That's all, Adam. That one was just a hard truth we all had to accept.
First 6 issues of X Factor, I think, are still better than this. That's at 543.
They really are, aren't they? And those are not good. I mean, I think X-Man 5 through 7, The Man Who Fell to Earth, is better than this.
Yeah, I would agree.
How do you feel about it compared to one of the most forgettable comics of all time? We highlighted 2 different incredibly forgettable comics in the same spot, which was Spider-Man and X-Factor Shadow Games or X-Men Liberators.
All right, so at 556, we have Crimson Dawn. I think Crimson Dawn is probably better than this. Extreme X-Men 5 to 9 is what story?
That's the one.
It doesn't matter because that's still going to be better than this. But this is about the same as Liberators, right?
It's about the same as Liberators. Okay, Uncanny X-Men 442 to 443 of Darkest Nights. Which one is that? Is that the end of the Austin run?
Yes, they go back to Genosha.
When they go to Genosha. That one's better than this.
Yeah, I would agree. So
this is better than X-Men Secret Invasion at 564.
Yeah, is it better? I think it's probably a little bit better than both of the Phoenix War Song and Song.
See, I was gonna say that those are better. The Phoenix stories are.
All right, so that leaves Young X-Men number 7 at 563.
I'm gonna give Young X-Men number 7 the nod here because I think the art on that one's better. Though I couldn't tell you who does the art on that one.
All right, so this is buried all the way down at 564. Man, Havok having a rough day today.
Can I tell you something that's really disheartening?
What's that?
We've read 45 X-Men stories that we've decided are worse.
There's always, there's always worse here.
The thing is that most people haven't read 45 X-Men stories, and we were like, this one's terrible. We've read 45 that are even worse.
Oh my goodness.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
Who knows? At least they're telling good Havok stories these days, right?
Hellions rules. Guys, I don't think we have to tell you to go pick up Hellions, but if you haven't, go pick up Hellions. It's done now. Zeb Wells, Steven Segovia. Who
Good
else does
stuff.
Roge Antonio and Carmen Carnero. I think that's all of the artists on it. Anyway, it's great.
Good stuff. Very good stuff.
Great stuff, even. And you know who else is great?
Robert,
our Patreon supporter. If you want to be like Robert again, go to patreon.com/comicsxf. It's nice. Just do it. Come on. Just do it. Just do it. Come on. You know you want to.
Yeah,
I'm not
chip
doing
in.
a hard sell. I had to do sales all day. I don't want to do sales for a hobby. That's not fun for me. We're not even talking about fan filter units or backward incline wheels.
Oh man, the HVAC terms just keep flying here.
Bud, here's the thing. I got a customer who's trying to use a forward curve wheel in a fan filter unit, and I'm sitting there like, we can help you here, but what you really need is a backward incline solution to deal with those high static pressures.
I was just going to say the same thing.
It's obvious, and I understand that backward incline wheels have a higher noise out of them, but you have to balance that with getting a large enough wheel for your system so that it can run at low enough RPMs so that you can mitigate that while still getting premium efficiency.
Wow. Folks, I'm Adam Reck. You can follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. Zach, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to talk about the upcoming changes to the SEER 2023 regulations impacting the HVAC industry, specifically on the residential side. But then also we're going to talk about things where James Proudstar gets some play. And very excited about that. But until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Get it!